Well, you certainly know how to compliment a woman. Well, if you'll excuse me.
Do you know who I am?
No, I can't say that I do.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Really?
People know me.
Well, I'm very happy for you.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Kizzy's Friday Game Changers, taking your business to the next level.
Coming up on Kizzy's Friday Game Changers.
The world is just super unpredictable, so you just have to be flexible and you have to control what you can. And there are things that you still can control.
And also,
that's when you know, like I was talking about, the universe gives you signs. When things align like that, you kind of just have to go, okay, this is meant to be, right?
Hi, this is Ray Zinn.
Hi, I'm Jamie Martin from Ideal Shopping Direct.
I'm Kate Bell, founder of Zip Us In.
Hi, my name is Eirik Eide Patterson. I'm a co-founder of Seaborg Technologies.
Hi, I'm Katie Farrell, transformation coach, founder of The Catalyst for Life.
Hey everybody, I'm David Frangioni, CEO and co-founder of All Access IDA, Inspire and Develop Artists, and you're listening to Kizzy's Friday Game Changer. Check it out.
So my name is Brad Burton. I'm the UK's #1 motivational business speaker, and for 17,337 days I've been a game changer, and today I'm tuned in and listening as always to Kizzy's Game Changers.
The world famous Game Changer Show. Game Changer Show. Game Changer Show.
Welcome to Kizzy's Friday Game Changers
with your host Kizzy Nkwocha.
A show for innovators and motivators, people just like you.
Kizzy is the publisher of Business Game Changer magazine and the property investor, editor of the successful Women in Business book series
and the best-selling Every Entrepreneur's Guide series.
Every week, Kizzy and his guests provide you with the tools you need to take your game-changing business to the next level.
Listen, learn and innovate.
Now meet your host, your mentor and your fellow game changer, Kizzy Nkwocha.
hello and welcome to Kizzy's Friday Game Changers. This week's guest, Lynn Power, has spent her almost 30-year career running and transforming agency brands. Now, Lynn has expertise in transforming organizations from top to bottom, including capabilities, organizational structure, talent, and culture. But quite recently, Lynn walked away from the big agency world to create MASAMI, a premium clean hair care brand, which launched in February 2020. In just a few minutes, I'll be talking to game changer Lynn Power to uncover her secrets of business success. Don't go away.
Hi, this is Colin Smith, corporate and commercial partner with Blazer Mills Law, and you're listening to Kizzy's Friday Game Changer, the world's #1 podcast experience.
Welcome to the show. This week I have the honour and privilege of breaking bread with Lynn Power, the driving force behind MASAMI, a premium clean hair care brand. Now, Lynn was featured in the book Stories of Success, an update of Orson Swett Marden's classic book, How They Succeeded. But before we jump into today's conversation, we've got to take a brief pause for the cause. I've been asked to remind you that Money and Finance magazine is producing the definitive showcase celebrating the very best 10 finance specialists. The Editor's Choice Top 10 Finance Specialists 2021 covers those extraordinary financial advisors, coaches, accountants, and investment specialists who've made an outstanding contribution to their business, sector, or customer's enterprise. For information about how to nominate yourself, a colleague, or a client for inclusion in the Editor's Choice Top 10 Finance Specialists 2021, email hellomoneyandfinance@outlook.com. That address one more time is hellomoneyandfinance@outlook.com. .com. That's it. Job's been, that's the second time I've had to do that today, because the first time I tried it, we didn't record, but this time it's sounding much, much better. So the job's been done and the bills have definitely been paid. Lynn, it's amazing to have you join me.
Thank you so much. It's amazing to be here.
Do you notice how I ad-libbed my way out of what could have been a potentially disastrous situation?
Well, you know what? That's why you're the pro. I love it.
Yeah, you see, now, I remember you called me an old pro before, and I wasn't sure what you meant by that, but that was a compliment, right?
Absolutely a compliment.
Thank you, and I take it with all due humility. Let's talk about you for a minute. Now, at the beginning, you were CEO of J. Walter Thompson, New York, responsible for the oldest advertising agency in the world, which also was valued at some $1.5 billion. You spent nearly 30 years working with some of the world's biggest brands, including who we've got: Listerine, American Express, Clinique, Hershey's, Pizza Hut, you name it, you've worked with them. But then you made that extraordinary decision to walk away from the agency world and start your own business. Lynn, why would you do this?
I know it sounds crazy, right? Because I spent so long in advertising and I loved it for a really long time too. And I wasn't even planning on getting into advertising, but I stumbled into it. It was a great career. I worked my way up to very senior positions. But what I found was that in those senior positions, rather than being more glamorous and exciting, which is sort of what you think of a CEO's job, it was actually kind of the opposite. Very tedious, very administrative, lots of bureaucracy. I was working, of course, within a large holding company, WPP, that owns J. Walter Thompson, which, by the way, no longer exists as a brand because they merged with another brand. So I do have the distinction of being the last CEO of J. Walter Thompson, New York. But I found myself spending a lot of time doing finance and HR and legal and really not enjoying the business anymore. And what I really got into the business for was building brands and using creativity as a business tool. And I'd gotten really far away from that. So I just decided I'm not getting any younger, clearly. I need to do something for myself. It's time to be a little selfish, take control of my life. And I left. I started a brand consultancy working with startups. I really enjoyed it because they needed help and I could get really hands-on working with the founders directly. But then the universe intervened, and that happens to us sometimes. And, you know, I've not always listened before, but I'm learning as I'm getting older that sometimes you really do need to pick up on those cues. I met my co-founder, James, who'd been working on haircare formulations for a decade. I thought he was crazy, but I've learned that he's actually a genius. The formulations are brilliant. And he really didn't know how to bring a brand to market, which is what I've been doing my whole career. So it's a fantastic partnership. And we decided to launch the brand together. We didn't have a brand name at the time, but to launch the brand together. And from there, it took us about, 18 months to develop the branding, the positioning, the packaging, the go-to-market strategy, the e-com site, all that good stuff. And we launched in February 2020, just before COVID lockdown in New York City.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because you started your business, I reckon, just a month before the United Kingdom went into lockdown, and probably just a few months before the United States went into lockdown. What sort of challenges did you face as a result of this abrupt change to the economy?
Yeah, well, okay. So we launched at New York Fashion Week, which if you've ever been or seen pictures, it's a lot of people crammed into very small rooms. And that was in February. And then it was mid-March in the US, actually, when things got shut down. I had to go pick my son up from college because they were basically closing it. He was supposed to be on spring break, and they basically were like, "You're not coming back." So, we went to pick him up. And then we realized very quickly that a lot of our business plan had revolved around salons. Well, one of the first things that got shut down was salons. Really, they felt the pain. So we had to basically, like a lot of businesses do, we had to pivot, and we had to decide, all right, well, if we can't rely on people experiencing our product at salons, we have to go directly to them. So let's focus on our e-commerce, our content, our customers, and just focus there for the foreseeable future, which turned out to be about a year.
Wow. I say when life gives you lemons, you have to learn to make lemonade. It looks like you were making lemonade by the bucketful.
Well, I think we were just very pragmatic. And, it's one of those things where had I known in hindsight, what it was going to be like, I might have thought, I'll just wait. And we'll just take a little more time and launch. But we didn't know any better. And so you just do what you have to do, right? You just, and I do think, for other entrepreneurs who are dealing with this, the world is just super unpredictable. So you just have to be flexible and you have to control what you can. And there are things that you still can control. You can control your content. You can control what you're putting out on social. You can do digital acquisition. You can do a lot of stuff still. So it's not all doom and gloom.
I was wondering whether this pivoting has led to you being more creative in the way you view your business, because at the very beginning you had a very set plan of what you were going to do and when you're going to do it by and how you're going to do it. But it seems as though because of this pandemic and the lockdown, you found yourself in a position where you're kind of making up new ideas as you go along.
You know what? It's true, because there are a lot of interesting channels now that probably wouldn't have been on our radar, like live streaming, social selling, even podcasting. I mean, I wouldn't be doing, so many of these if we hadn't kind of out of necessity needed to find other ways to get our story out there. But
sorry, I was going to ask, when you started a business, did you have to have investors, outside investors, putting money into the business that you needed to justify what you were doing during the pandemic time?
No, and that's a beautiful thing. We actually did talk to some investors early on, but it was a weird time. Investors were looking for bargains, I think, and we didn't want to give up a big chunk of our company yet. So we just decided to self-fund and bootstrap. And the pros and cons of that are, you're in control, so you don't have somebody breathing down your neck questioning things. But of course, you don't have the capital to do all the stuff we want to do, because we have a long list of things we want to do. And it's always kind of waiting till we can fund things.
But then again, during that waiting period, you're learning a lot, you're growing, and you're finalizing and fine-tuning your plans as well, aren't you?
Exactly. I think that's the cool thing, is that when you're forced to be scrappy, you experiment a lot, and then you figure out what works and what doesn't work. I call it planting seeds. Not all of them are going to sprout, but the ones that do, you double down. You learn, you do more, you figure out how to make it work. And the ones that don't, you kind of just move on. So yeah, we're kind of doing a lot of that and seeing where we want to spend our time and prioritize our business right now.
Oh, your life sounds like a Hollywood movie. I mean, 1 minute you're sitting at the helm of this huge agency worth over $1 billion. And the next minute you're back to proving that you can create a brand and grow a business using your resources and resourcefulness. I get the feeling that you relish this challenge.
You know what? I do. It's so funny that you say that, but because I think there's something to be said for being your own client. Like, I've been giving advice to other people for so long. It's a little bit like, what do they say? It's like eat your own dog food kind of thing. It's like you have to be willing to take your own advice. And so it's a little daunting, because I'm either a horrible client or I'm a great client, and the jury's out. We'll see.
Well, whatever it is, I'm sure it's going to help the business. I was wondering, let's put the COVID and pandemic aside for just a minute. And if you could just tell me, during the business startup, what were the other problems you encountered getting MASAMI off the ground, and how did you overcome them?
Well, there were things that I had no idea I would encounter, because if you can't tell, I like to plan things out, and I'm a bit type A. But what I learned during 2020 is you kind of can't be. You just have to go with the flow because there are things that you just don't see coming. Like, for example, we bought our packaging from for our shampoo and conditioner bottles from a company in Amsterdam, and they were supposed to arrive on, I can't remember what day, but we got a call saying they literally missed the boat. And so now it was pushed back a month, which pushed back everything. Like, you know what I mean? You just don't control it. There's nothing you can do. So we had a number of things like that happen with the manufacturing process where things were massively delayed or they were wrong. We had our bottles printed wrong and we had to have things reprinted, like just things that will make you pull your hair out.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think we can all relate to it, Lynn, but let's just hold that thought and come back to our conversation in a few minutes. Let's have a quick break. This week's incredibly talented entrepreneur, this week's boss star is Yul Guttenbiel. God, I hope I've pronounced that right, Yul. Yul Guttenbiel, the founder director of a legal startup called Mode.law. Now, Yul's business provides a set of tools that enables businesses to take control of their legal work. But as well as being a game-changing business leader, Yul is also a very, very talented musician. I'll let Yul introduce himself and his track, Night Night. Over to you, Yul.
I'm Yul Guttenbiel, director of Mode.law, an online platform that helps Australian businesses take control of their legal needs. Mode.law includes a range of tools that help small businesses manage their legal spend, such as automated contracts, a chat window to get legal guidance and quotes from lawyers, and a booking system to arrange full consultations. We've made all subscriptions free until the end of September to help businesses struggling with the COVID-19 crisis. This includes free legal guidance using the chat window. So this song is Night Night from my debut album, Ah. It's about that moment between being awake and asleep where dreams are most vivid. Musically, I was experimenting with blending very different genres like blues, drum and bass, and hip-hop. It's not a song that takes itself too seriously, so I hope you enjoy.
I'm Brian Stolley, founding partner of Wildcat Venture Partners.
Hey, Tanja Lee here, all the way from Melbourne, Australia. I'm a leadership and mindset specialist for real estate and property professionals.
Hi, I'm Jonathan from Amplify.
Hi, I'm Johnny Cool, CEO of Pay by Phone UK.
I'm Kenneth Hafianyo, the founder of Jogwefa, an ethical fashion brand based in Ho, Volta region, Ghana. My Friday is never the same without Kizzy's Friday Game Changers.
My bed is drenched with sweat and outside is still not even right.
Love this game-changing interview? Share your thoughts by posting a comment. Sharing is caring. Friday Game Changers Elevator Pitch of the Week.
Please stand back from the closing doors. Please select a level. Going up.
Hello, my name is Kaylin Howarth and I am the founder and director of The Performer's Edge, an online performance psychology coaching service for creatives and performers. Research indicates that musicians, artists and writers are far more likely to experience adverse mental health than the general population. And yet there are very few, if any, industry-specific services in Australia to psychologically support creative and performing artists and to help them reach peak performance. Whilst this type of service is really common in elite sports and in the corporate world, the arts really lags behind, which is why I wanted to start this service to provide that really niche, tailored service specifically for people in the creative industries.
Top floor. Good luck.
Welcome back. Before the break, you're listening to Jürgen Guttenbauer, the founder-director of a legal startup called Mode.law. And I'm in the studio talking to game changer Lynn Power. Lynn, before the break, I was going to ask you something that completely slipped my mind. MASAMI, where'd you get this name from and what's it mean?
It's a great question. I feel like, that's a really good question. So MASAMI actually has two meanings. One is it's named after James, my co-founder's husband, Masa, who's Japanese, and they've been married for about, I want to say like 14, 15 years. And Masa is our muse in a lot of ways because he's the one that introduced us to our Japanese Ocean Botanical. That is our secret sauce. So that's the first explanation. The second one, though, is simple. It means truly beautiful in Japanese.
I like that. Truly beautiful. That just says it all, doesn't it, really?
It really does. And when we found that out, it was a goosebump moment. You know what I mean? When you're like, oh, my God. And then, of course, we got the trademark. And that was like, oh, wait, this is too good. That's when you know, like I was talking about, the universe gives you signs. When things align like that, you kind of just have to go, okay. This is meant to be, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When you introduce MASAMI, am I saying that right? MASAMI.
Yeah, MASAMI, yeah.
Right. Okay. So when you introduce MASAMI to the salons, now that they're reopening, what's the reaction been so far?
It's been awesome. So we were able to do a partnership with a large, and it's not so large, 8 salon chain. I hate even calling them a chain. But a really high-end salon here in the U.S. called Spoken Wheel. And they were an Aveda-only salon before us because they were all about clean, natural products. And ours was really the first product that they've found that met their standards. So that's been fantastic. And then we did another deal with a salon here in the U.S. called Dream Dry. They have 5 locations, and they're a blowout chain or salon. And we do their back bar products for them. So that's been great. That's
fantastic. I was wondering, how do you get your name out there? Are you relying primarily on word of mouth as a way of referrals and recommendations, or are you really pushing it out on social media, or is it a combination of both?
It's definitely a combination. As I mentioned before, we're bootstrapped, so I don't have money to do, advertising campaigns, ironically, since that was the business I was in for so long. So we're very active on social. We definitely rely on word of mouth. We do some influencer marketing. We do trying to activate all of our, Pinterest and YouTube and TikTok and because it really is about putting yourself out there so people can find you and connect with you.
And what's been your most effective social media platform? I noticed you mentioned TikTok and Pinterest.
Yeah, Pinterest is great for driving traffic. It doesn't do as well on conversion, but for traffic, it's great. I would say we get a lot actually from Google when we do Google display ads or keywords. That drives probably the most traffic efficiently for us.
Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to make a note of that. Google does work then. Lynn, I'd like us to play a game. The game I have in mind, now don't look worried, the game I've got in mind is called Past, Present and Future. It's completely harmless, honestly. All we're going to do is drill deep inside your head and uncover a unique insight into the mind of game changer Lynn Power. Will you submit to the program?
It sounds interesting. So let's go for it.
I can see you edging slightly towards the door as you're saying that.
Yes, I'm willing to try. Let's go for it.
It's going to be fun. Now, look, you've got to imagine you can hear a clock ticking in the background. That's the sound of time passing by second after second. Imagine yourself traveling back in time to meet the young Lynn Power, just starting out on her game-changing business journey. Now, young Lynn asks you for 2 pieces of advice. She wants you to tell her one thing she must make sure she does in business, absolutely must do in business, and one thing she must make sure she never does in business. What would you tell her?
Okay, I would say she should definitely buy Tesla stock as soon as possible. Okay, that is critical. No, but seriously, I would say learn to speak up more. That, you know, your perspective is valuable, and I'm an introvert by nature, so it took me a while to figure that out. So that would be the thing I would say. And women in general don't tend to, you know, speak up, which is a problem. So I would try to encourage that. So shortcut it. And then I guess on the negative thing, I would definitely say do not get a perm, no matter how tempted you are. I mean, I started business, it was the late 80s, but don't do it. Just avoid that at all costs. It is not pretty.
Well, hold on a second, because in the 80s, I'm pretty sure I had a perm.
Well, pretty much everyone did. It was terrible. The pictures that I have from the 80s are like, I need to burn them. My kids have found them and they just think it's hilarious. But I really wish that someone had told me, don't do it.
Yeah, you know, now that you mention it, I do remember that I didn't date very much during the 80s.
Right. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, those were the lean years. Okay, now I know why. But so let's go back to the idea of you should speak up more. I can't imagine for 1 minute that you were an extrovert. Did you lack confidence when you started out in business?
I mean, it was not so much lacking confidence as having anxiety around speaking or presenting. And, you know, my 18-year-old daughter has anxiety as well. So she's sort of a more extreme case of what I was like. But I guess it's an insecurity, right? Like you know, everyone's looking at you, you know, you don't want to say the wrong thing, that kind of thing. But also being an introvert, you get your energy from sort of, you know, your alone time. And when you're around a lot of people, it's draining, not the other way around. So, you know, extroverts love crowds and they get their energy from crowds. And I would find it was the opposite. So I had to learn how to be an extrovert, basically. And it took me a while to figure it out.
I'm wondering whether you actually did change that, or if you created a persona that you put on public display when you have to be a certain person. And perhaps when you go back home and you're with people who know and trust you and love you and everything else, maybe you're a very different person to who you are in the office.
You know, it's possible, but I actually think I'm very consistent. But I think the part about the persona that's true, one of the tricks that I use to get myself more comfortable with speaking is to pretend I'm acting. So it's like you kind of just pick an actress and you say, if she was going to actually do this presentation, this is how it would, and, you know, and it's actually interesting because a lot of actors are introverts too. So there is this like putting on you know, because it sort of takes the pressure off of, it's not you're acting like a CEO, and it's, you know what I mean? But I will say one of the things that also helped me was realizing that I can be a leader that is authentic to who I am, meaning I don't have all the answers. I like to collaborate. I am a good listener. I'm, you know, like different I have empathy, different qualities than the traditional advertising leaders had. most of my role models coming up in advertising were very brash, assertive, aggressive men. And I just realized at one point, it was like a light bulb moment where I don't want to be like them. Like, those are bad role models to emulate, and I have to do it my own way. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Because I know that growing up in the 80s, women were encouraged to be super aggressive in the office. Remember those shoulder pads, that you had to wear?
Yeah. And actually, my worst bosses were women because of that. Like, they felt like they had to be really tough and rude and, overly confident, and it just didn't work. Now I feel like people have understood that you can embrace your own personality and still be a really good leader, even if you don't. Actually, I don't even think people want those traits anymore. I mean, look at, we could have a whole conversation about Donald Trump, but that will derail us. But I think the world has moved on, and they want leaders who have empathy and are connected and engaged and vulnerable. And I think that's a really good thing, because with everything happening around us with COVID and whatnot, it's like, if you don't have that ability to be transparent and to admit what you don't know, I think you're going to be called out and be a bad leader.
Absolutely. I agree. I'm nodding my head like crazy here, because everything you say makes perfect sense. Well, that's the past taken care of. Let's go into the present. Lynn, when things don't go as you'd expected, when you say to yourself, God, I wish I'd taken Kizzy up on his offer of doing voiceovers for the radio. When you're feeling just a little bit discouraged, what keeps you motivated?
Well, one of the things that is awesome being an entrepreneur is you get to pick who you work with. Whereas, when you're in a service business, not so much. Now, I had great clients for most of my career, but there are always a few bad apples in there. But when things get tough, I've got a great team of people around me. I mean, I work with one of my friends from high school. We reconnected, and that was fantastic. James, my co-founder, is like family. And his husband, Masa, they're like family to us. I drag my kids and get them involved in things sometimes. My daughter and her boyfriend are coming to a beauty trade show with me in a couple weeks. And then my brother works with us, which has been super fun, because we always got along great. But now it's like an even better relationship, because it's working with people you trust. You know what I mean? So if you have a bad day, it's like they get it, and you don't have to like put on your game face. You can just be real, and they have your back, and you have their back. So it's so much. It makes it such a difference.
It makes all the difference in the world. I'm wondering now, if you could have one superpower, one super ability, what would it be?
Oh my gosh! If I could have one, I would probably want to be invisible. Just so now and then I could slip into, I don't know, a meeting at Tesla and hear what they're working on or something. I think there'd be a lot of uses for that.
Well, I guess that's probably the first time I've heard that before. Now, you would like to be, guys, everybody who's listening to this conversation, I'm now urging you to Google Lynn Power and pull up her pictures. And I promise you that photograph is what she looks like. You're one of the most amazing looking people I've ever seen. Why would you want to be invisible?
I think it's my introvert coming out. I just, sometimes I don't want to have to be a leader. I just want to sort of like observe, and so I think in the right settings, that would be amazing to be able to be a fly on the wall and get myself into like cool positions where I could learn stuff, but not have to be out there,
Well, an interesting perspective. So would you consider yourself to be a teacher or a student?
Oh, I'm a student. The irony is I do a lot of teaching because I do a lot of mentoring and advising for other brands and other companies and other founders because I've just done so much stuff. But I think I'm at my heart, I'm still a student. I'm learning every day. I mean, there's constantly stuff to learn in our business. There's always, a new algorithm to figure out on Facebook or whatever. So I think at every age, it doesn't matter how old you are, you can be a constant learner, and you should be.
Do you read much?
I do read a lot.
What sort of stuff do you read?
I just read the book Rant, which is by the guy that did the Fight Club. I can't remember his name. And then there's a great book. Chuck Palahniuk is, I think, the author of Rant. I'm butchering his name. Sorry, Chuck, but it is what it is. I just read another great book. It was a Japanese book, actually, that was translated, and it was called Out. And it's about these women who commit a really gruesome crime. I'll just say that. I do read a lot. I find at any given time, I'll have like 3 or 4 books going, because there'll be different genres, and then I kind of decide what I'm in the mood for. So I just flip between them.
Right. They often say that if you really want to understand somebody, go into their living room and take a look at their bookshelf. I'm going to message James and ask him to take a photograph of your book so that I can understand you. It sounds like you've got such an eclectic mix of genres that you're interested in.
Well, I like a good mystery. I like a good sci-fi book, but I also like stuff like, actually, speaking of sci-fi books, I actually just read Leslie Kean's book on UFOs, which is interesting because she's a reporter, and she basically put together this compilation of what's been documented, which I thought was quite enjoyable. But I just think things that just sort of like spark my interest. And then I do read some more boring, marketing, leadership, that kind of stuff. Not a ton, but I'm more drawn to a good autobiography or a good thriller. Yeah, something like that. That's why I like to have a lot at the same time, because then I can flip between different things.
There we have it. Further evidence that great readers are great leaders. Let's go into the future. Let's hold hands and go into the future, Lynn. Let's go 10 years from now. Assuming you're still taking my call and we're still mates, where will I find you? What will you be doing in 10 years' time?
I think I will be living on the island of Dominica. I will have all my beehives around, and we will be growing all of our own food and basically like just living in nature.
I thought you just said something about having beehives around.
Yeah, well, that's my other business. Is I have this luxury beeswax candle business. So we have hives down there. I have hives in the Berkshires too, which is Western Massachusetts. But yes.
Wow, you have your finger in a couple of pies then.
I do. And you know what? I think it's my advertising background, because when you work in advertising, one of the things I really loved about it is you get to work on so many different brands and categories that you're never bored, because you're always learning something about a completely different business. I mean, I worked on tampons, I worked on liquor, I worked on Tylenol, you know what I mean? It's like you get to really flex your ADD side. And so now as an entrepreneur, it's not that different for me, because I like having different things to think about. And so we ended up launching this second business in sort of after MASAMI. It was more around September of 2020. But the cool thing is we're basically using MASAMI as our guinea pig and then applying those learnings to the other business too. So it's not as disconnected as it might sound.
It sounds as though you're using your creativity and resourcefulness in lots of different ways, but you're still aiming towards the same thing with pretty much every business. You're innovating and you're serving a need.
Yeah. I mean, my whole thing is I want to be able to make products that are good for you and good for the environment and that are high performing. Like, you shouldn't have to trade that stuff off. And because I worked on so many beauty brands throughout my career, I didn't know this at the time. And so I'll give my defense of, Back in the 90s, we didn't talk about ingredients and clean beauty, but most of the products I worked on had toxic stuff in them. And, now, of course, I look back and I'm like, oh my God, how is that stuff even allowed to be sold? And even now, there's still lots of products on the market that still have toxic stuff in them.
Well, we're making those changes day by day, but it's a slow process, but we are heading in the right direction. I've got a notice saying that we have actually gone past our allocated time, which I knew we were going to anyway. But before we wrap it up, I just wondered, is there anybody out there listening to our conversation today that you'd like to say hello to?
Yes, of course. I would definitely want to give my kids a shout out, Katie and Billy, because they get embarrassed when I do. So it's always fun. But there are a bunch of founders that I would love to shout out, because I feel like the group of founders that we've kind of put together has been so incredibly helpful. And you talked earlier about getting through those down days. Well, this is one of the ways you do it. You have people that have gone through it before. So Elaine Morrison of Elaine's Wellness, she's an amazing collagen product. Lauren Rome has a fantastic, simple, gender-neutral skincare brand. I'm using Sarah Kotlova's CBD sleep pills to help me sleep better. So there's her business is Impact Naturals. It's amazing. The products are fantastic. And then I'll give Heather Fink. She's the Sexiest Beauty. She makes wonderful lipsticks. I could go on and on, but those are a few that I just love.
Fantastic. You've done it. And I'm sure that every single one of these people you've mentioned, their life has been made better by having you in it. It's been an amazing experience talking to you, Lynn. We have to do part 2 of this conversation very, very soon.
Yes, I would love that. Thank you.
And until then, it's been a great experience talking to you. And thank you so, so much for sharing your expertise, your wisdom, and your knowledge on Kizzy's Friday Game Changers.
Anytime. I'm happy to be here.
Well, the time I spent with Lynn has made me realize that the measure of intelligence is our ability to change. Look at Lynn. She's transformed her life from one career and into another one that's exploding. Amazing. Every great dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember, you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars to change the world. 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the things you did do. So follow the example set by people like Charles Darwin on the HMS Beagle. Throw off the bowlines, sail away from safe harbour, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, discover. Playing us out is 33-year-old Ghanaian entrepreneur Kenneth Hafiano. Now, Kenneth is a founder of Zabifa, an ethical fashion brand based in Ho, Volta region, Ghana. When Kenneth's not training people in the fine art of batik, he's also, I'm sure you'll agree, a very, very talented musician. Here he is performing Thank You for My Life. See you next week.
Yeah. Thank you for my life. Yeah. For all the good things you've been doing for me. You have done it for free. Thank you for our lives, yeah. For all the good things you've been doing for my friends too. You still do all for free. Thank you for their lives, yeah. For all the great things you've been doing for them. You still do all for free, yeah. Thank you for the life of the motherless kids on the street. And I thank you for the ghetto youth hustling every day for what to eat. Money, car, house to live in is necessary, but life first, good health for the family. Some of they are trying to take away authority. Tomorrow that comes, nobody could decide it. Your plan may work, doesn't mean you in control.
You're listening to Kizzy's Friday Game Changers, the world's #1 business podcast experience. Listen, learn, and innovate.
Thank you for my life, yeah. For all the good things you've been doing for me. You have done it for free. for our lives, yeah. For all the great things you've been doing for us, you still do more for free. Thank you for their lives, yeah. For all the great things you've been doing for them too, you still do all for free, yeah. I'm all like be yo talk with la nyola. Yo no vyo tona ble. Mi so agbe chiko ademila ikunyo wuyema. Funo ya deleke yema. Kobale bang bang kwa agbe awo mate pleo. Presida Katmanda vo awo mate pleo de. Agbe ale vevede. Na le beneto wa nywede. Amo le koji la viji. Amo le zanji le gaji. Ye mi le mokpokpo me benade. Enunya de la vague. Amo le koji la viji. Amo le zanji le gaji. Ye mi le mokpokpo me benade. Enunya de la vague. Merci pour la force et la vie. Toutes les maladies sont guéries. La plus nécessaire c'est la vie. Laisse-moi vivre comme je veux. La plus nécessaire c'est la vie. Toutes les maladies sont guéries. Plus nécessaire c'est la vie. Laisse-moi vivre comme je veux. Yeah. For all the good things you've been doing for me.
Kizzy's Friday Game Changers. Don't just play the game, change the game.
Thank you for my life. Yeah. For all the great things you've been doing for my friends too. You still do all for free. Thank you for their lives, yeah. For all the great things you've been doing for them. You still do all for free.